Okay guys, I think I bit off a bit more than I can chew, so this is going to be a two-parter. The bikes that I have owned over the years, and there's been a few of them, that have led to the Mariposa. The Mariposa, the steel custom bike that was manufactured in Toronto, Ontario. I've done a vlog on it previously, so you can go back and check that out. But yeah, two-parter, all the bikes. So this is more of an exercise of memory recall to see if I can remember all the bikes that I've owned over the last, I don't know, 2 decades. So yeah, two-parter. Here we go. Yeah, you're gonna love cycling through a protest. Not even sure if this is a protest. Celebrating the Battle of Stalingrad. Peace and quiet for now. Doe, a deer, a female deer. Today's the day. Ladies and gentlemen, those new to the channel, the Mariposa. The inaugural ride for 2025. Now I'm squeezing this one in. It's supposed to start raining by 11 o'clock. So quick ride, see how we get on. This doesn't see the rain ever. It tries not to. It has a couple of times, but try not to. How did we get here? I won't discuss pricing because, as you know, there's two sets of pricing. There's the pricing that you actually paid for a bike, and then there's the wife pricing. And as Linda is on this vlog fairly often and also watches it, she will know and will be quite shocked to see what we actually paid. Now, we'll keep that between us. Okay, before we get into the meat of this week's vlog, there's 4 things I need to recap you on from the last time we spoke. First of all, Linda's chicken wing. Finally got an appointment at a physio. Yeah, it's not looking good. I guess there's something, when you reach a certain age as a lady, 40 to 60, I guess, if you fall suddenly on your shoulder, there's a thing called a frozen shoulder. It may or may not be that. Hopefully it's not, because the recovery period is 2 years for that puppy. So we got some more physio appointments and hopefully we'll get that chicken wing sorted out. That's number 1. Number 2, federal election. It happened. I don't know if you follow Canadian news, but the Liberal Party won. That is Mr. Mark Carney. Third thing was hockey. The Battle of Ontario. It wrapped up. If you're not a hockey fan, you wouldn't know. It was between the Toronto Maple Leafs of Toronto and the Ottawa Senators of Ottawa. And the series ended with the victor being the Toronto Maple Leafs in 6 games. 4 games to 2. Sorry, Ottawa. I will say this, I'm not an Ottawa Senators fan at all. But I will say this about the playoffs. It's good when your home team is in the playoffs, because the local restaurants and bars, they really benefit from people coming out and watching the game. There's a street in Ottawa called Elgin Street, and during the playoffs they call it the Red Mile, because the Ottawa Senators colors are red and black, and the bars were hopping. So really good for the restaurant industry, but better for the Toronto Maple Leafs. Go Leafs, go! Toronto fan right here. And the 4th thing. The hell was the 4th thing? I'll try and be as accurate as I can with the years, but they're accurate to within a year or 2. Let's go back. I think this model is a 2005, but this was my first road bike from 2007. It is the Venerable Look. My first ever road bike. It is the 486. I didn't know a lot about road bikes when I got that 486. I didn't know what Grupos were appropriate. I didn't know what Dura-Ace was. I didn't know what Ultegra was. I basically came from the world of mountain bikes, which to me, everything was XD, XDR. So I relied on my friend who owned a bike shop, and he sold me the Look 486. It came with Ultegra, but where I have issue with how he spec'd it, Ultegra was great, but the issue was the gearing. So he gave me a 53, I don't know, 49 on the front, and then an 1123 cassette. So for a newbie on the road, I think that's a little punitive, and it was. Boy, I struggled. But yeah, that was my first bike. It lasted 2 years because it cracked. Found a crack in the down tube, so I had to move on. What did I move on to? So there was one bike that was a bit of a stopgap bike between the 486 and then what I would classify as my true second bike. That bike was an interesting one, and I wanted to highlight it because ultimately I think that was a bike that I should have bought in the first place. It is this one. It is a Sevel RS. Nothing super sexy. Most Cervelos of this pedigree were spec'd with a rotor group set, maybe a Shimano derailleur on there. I can't recall exactly what it is, maybe you can see in this picture. But certainly one of the most comfortable bikes that I've ever ridden. Those super skinny seat stays certainly added to the comfort. And the geometry was really good. It just worked. Now, it wasn't a true second bike. It didn't replace the Look 486. The bike shop lent it to me while I was waiting for my second bike, which I was super stoked about and also super disappointed with. What was it? It was this one. This was Look's top of the line bike featured in the Tour de France. This was the Look 595. I was so excited for this bike. It is absolutely beautiful. I still think it is a beautiful bike. I still love the full suite of Look bikes. Sadly, there's something about them that they just don't work for muggins here. I tried a large, 486 was a large, and I don't know, too much back pain. It just didn't work. So we thought we would try a medium. Interesting story about this 595. I had to wait a little bit. It was ostensibly a crash replacement for the 486. As I mentioned earlier, there was a crack in the down tube on that, so it needed to be replaced, even though I didn't crash it. So what I did was I paid $300 more and I managed to upgrade to this 595. Stellar bike. It's the first time that I had ridden a bike with an integrated seat post. So I wasn't quite prepared for the rigidity of this bike. Certainly the stiffest bike that I'd ever ridden. Zero forgiveness. I don't know if you've ridden a bike with an integrated seat post, but there is no give. That bike is built for racing. That bike was built for the Tour de France in mind, or someone who does a lot of racing. But it certainly wasn't my favorite bike, and it broke my heart because I was so excited about riding this bike. And I wanted to love the looks so much. And remember, I had just come from riding a super comfortable Curvello RS, so I was kind of expecting something maybe even better with a Look 595. It was spec'd out with Dura-Ace, mechanical. I don't think Di2 was available back then. Yeah, I had to part ways for my next bike, where I saw a little bit more sense and went with comfort. Okay, the final bike we're going to talk about for part one is another Curvello. In fact, it's actually two Curvellos. I bought the Curvello R5, this one. I also bought, soon after, a Curvello R3. I'll get into the R3 later. The R5. One of the reasons why I bought the R5 after the Look 595 was because, again, at the same bike shop where I've bought all these bikes so far, they had a deal on the R5 frame. I don't know if they were back ordered after a Tour de France or they had a surplus stock, but it was a sweet deal. I couldn't pass it up. So I'm like, okay, let's do it. I need a bike. I got rid of the 595, sold it. Let's get the R5. Totally sweet bike. Spec'd it out. I think there's rotor on here. Again, the memory is starting to go a little bit. Rotor, maybe some Dura-Ace on there. I loved it. Again, I didn't quite learn my lesson vis-a-vis stiffness. I found the R5 to be very rigid. It was a sweet climbing bike, super light, but not as comfortable as the RS. And probably one of the reasons why I went to the R3 for a more endurance ride, longer ride type of bike, went to the R3 for comfort. R3 was great, not as light as the R5, not as well spec'd as the R5, but I did enjoy the R3 more than the Cervelo R5. Ultimately though, I had to get rid of both to pay for the next bike.